Welcome to my cellar. It's colder than hell down here tonight. Hotter it gets outside, the colder it gets down here. Inverse temperature effect. Most of the time I don't mind. Tonight I went barefoot to keep me awake. Let's get right to it. I like your take on experience points. I think that's a good explanation for how to award points based on experience. Yeah, and let's substitute that word experience for performance. And it doesn't have to be some heroic feat of arms or engineering or something like that. It should be for insight and good ideas and the ability to keep the party focused and moving. These are all very, very important things. And they should all be rewarded as such. I never did like the value system that was established for experience points. Certainly more hit dice should have more points, etc. But I often thought that if left to what was simply there and easy, a lot of specialty items, specialty monsters got undervalued, I always thought. But hey, it's my world. If you want to play straightly by the rules, that's your world. However you want to go is fine. But I was more of a generalized, oh yeah, man, this last week, yeah, you all got about. And we were a little bit, admittedly, a little bit into rushing the progression. But then again, keep in mind that I was doing effectively a test for Gary, so the faster we rolled through these things, the more I was able to test out, the more we were able to fool with. So it was a little accelerated and unnatural in that regard. But we had a hell of a lot of fun, so I played it the same way again today. Okay, now I had mentioned I didn't know a damn thing about Shadowdark, and I understand Shadowdark's not even available for print yet, or in print yet, so these are all advanced copies, apparently, that got voted on. Anyway, it's a nice toned-down version of D&D. See, they took out the high magic superhero shenanigans. Okay, they took out all the high magic. Okay, all right, I just thought of something. I have to take a note here. Hang on. Something that I wanted to speak about later, and it just came back to me. Sorry for that. But hey, it's live, it's spontaneous, and it's what I believe. Okay, no race has dark vision, even elves and dwarves, so light sources are a must. Underground torches burn for 1 hour, real time, encouraging players to keep the game moving. Well, that's a damn interesting idea. Let's see. DMs are encouraged to have monsters who can't see in the dark to attack the party's light sources. PCs get some XP for treasure found, but then are encouraged to spend that treasure on carousing between adventures, which can earn even more XP and events, which can affect the campaign. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a friend of mine's getting a copy, and when he's done with it, I'll check it out. I'm looking forward to looking at it. There's a couple of new systems out that I'm looking at. Just because it's always fun. And as this individual says, it's worth checking out, even if only for its random tables and ideas. And that's what every good DM should do, in my opinion, when you look through another system or another edition or whatever. You're there looking for ideas. None of us are an unending fount of ideas, good or bad for that matter. And so find your inspiration where you can. another book, movie, TV show, cartoon, comic strip, doesn't matter. Ideas are where you find them. And then what you do them, that's the art and the mastery. All right. Okay, now somebody here agreed with me. Totally agree. I never played anything beyond AD&D, never wanted to. Oh, okay. Still don't feel like my group exhausted the possibilities of 1E. Never felt any animosity towards anybody who plays other editions. Just never made sense to me. And I'm assuming that that's a double meaning there, that why you would get animosity between groups certainly doesn't make sense. As well as if you have something that you love and truly love, then yeah, why would you want to do anything but what I love? So it's cool. That's one of the things about us. We're flexible. Yeah, I'm just kidding. All right. My son, 31, and I, 66, are playing a second edition campaign. First time I ever tried second. Not bad. Interesting. Nice to learn some new, old stuff. For the first time in my RPG DMing career, I'm maintaining a strict calendar, including tracking phases of the moon and trying to do realistic weather patterns. It's fun. Isn't that what's so wonderful about RPGs? Everybody finds different aspects of them that they really get into. It seems to me that I've a vague memory of publishing an article, God knows how many years ago, about phases of the moon and how they could affect fantasy gaming and how you could fiddle with that into your campaign and literally have a lunar influence on your campaign. And are some spells more effective when the moon is full or when it's a new moon, or you can get into that, and it's whatever you desire. Realistic weather patterns. That's fun. I wrote an adventure that I'll be publishing hopefully here in the next couple of years called Castle of Glass. And in it is an otherworldly or an artifact, if you will, a device that floats in the air made of a glass-like substance that has capability to control the area, control the weather in a given area around it, and a weapon of mass woe, if not destruction. Anyway, in regard to strong gnomes, I see it as a matter of realism, as a matter of immersion. I see it less as a matter of realism as it is a matter of immersion. And that's a very subjective thing, of course. I've been in games where someone selects the tiniest PC race just to give them an 18 strength, and that always tilts the mood of the game towards a gonzo fantasy, which is not everyone is a fan of. And then follow up on that was, I get dwarves being stronger, but gnomes and halflings having a high strength always seemed a bit off. It doesn't come up often, though, as few people I've run games for ever played gnomes or halflings. Well, I always looked at strength as a relative measure, using humans as a basis, because D&D was designed to be humanocentric. And so 9 to 12 is an average range of average people doing one of the, measuring one of the things. Dex, for example. Let's take dexterity. And 9 to 12 is average guy walking down the streets, ability to not stumble over his own shoelaces, or, I'm just being facetious here. and anything else was greater. Now, in the in regard to strength, would I play a hobbit with 18 strength the same up against a humanoid? We'll say a human with 18 strength? Hell no. The human with 18 strength, though he'd have a tough time doing it, would beat up the hobbit. I see strength as a relative measure. It's, we're not looking at Mighty Mouse cartoons here, where Mighty Mouse, little tiny mouse, picks up a locomotive. That's not the way it works in my world. I use it as a relative measure of strength, and I scale it. An 18 strength gnome is not going to lift that locomotive, or whatever. Choose something big, heavy, and bulky. But in regards to other gnomes, he's one strong dude. And he might still be, he's certainly going to be surprisingly strong, shouldn't you encounter him. But he's not going to be able to bend iron bars like the thug barbarian in your group. Just the way I've always looked at it. Again, isn't RPGs fun because you can interpret it any way you want. It really doesn't make a hell of a lot of difference in the playing of the game, in the actual action of the game. Dear Miss K, hope you're well and enjoying not going to Gen Con, where I believe they sold out well before opening day. You're right. I did not go to Gen Con. When I saw the pictures of the main hall on opening day, having been through that myself too many times, I said, nope, don't miss it. And I don't, to be honest. Now, I'm not knocking Gen Con. Good Lord, the owner of Gen Con, I consider to be a good friend. Okay? I'm not knocking it, but I am saying that 70,000 or 60,000 or whatever it was, somewhere in there between there this year, is just way more people than I want to go out and mingle in, particularly when I'm on a mobility scooter, and people don't respect that and jump in front all the time, even though they say, sorry, excuse me, and you still have to stop the brake. If you know a mobility scooter, they brake like whiplash, being hit from behind. And I did post something on Facebook about it being a possible spreader, and at last I saw, which was a day or two ago, trying to figure out there were at least 1,400 or thereabouts known convention goers that went home and tested positive. I also know of an idiot, at least one, who tested positive beforehand, said, I feel fine out, and went. And all the pictures I saw less than 1% of masked people. COVID and these diseases and viruses are around with us just like flu. It's the worst kind of con crud. I'm not going to go at my age and expose myself to that again. Nope. It's more about seeing what's new and what you want to buy. And there's very little I don't know yet of anything new that I want to buy. Now, that's not a condemnation of what's out there. It's a very honest appraisal of my exposure to what's out there, what's new, and whatever. If you don't go to shows like this, you don't see all the new stuff. But if you pay attention, you'll see reactions online and whatever, and get a sense of what was good and what wasn't. Nope, didn't miss going. I miss back when it was only 30,000, 35,000. It was still a mob, but I wasn't in a scooter then either. Um, have you ever come across a D&D video screen table-like structures with video screens connected to an interface? Yes, those things are out there. They were popular for a while. I don't know if they still are. I know my friend Jelly Blackburn put together one or two of them. There are a couple of interface game sites out there where you can play on something like that. I'm told. I've not been there myself, so I don't know the people. I know people that like them, and I know people that went meh. Myself, maybe I could see getting into something like that if I'm the DM and it's a simple interface and I just sit there. I know what, but I'm not real tech savvy to begin with, so if something screwed up, I'd be screwed. Saw one recently. Actually, it was a homemade job, of which the idea was pretty impressive. Though it weighed a shit ton, which I and four others found out after the game when helping the guy put it back in his pickup. Yeah, that's the thing I've seen. The one downside I've seen on the homemade ones is the weight and the fragility of the structure, because you can't take a screen and warp it, torque it, because then you'll crack it. Okay, the only thing with the combat wheelchair I didn't understand is, in a world with magic, why would you limit yourself to something with wheels? Wheels are terrible for any type of terrain that isn't very flat. Why not have a flying carpet that can hover 2 or 3 feet off the ground? Or a mount you can be strapped into, or onto, or any number of other propulsions that don't get stopped by a single step? Yeah, this when I cut and pasted this question, I got to thinking about it. Wouldn't that make, if you play with wishes, wouldn't that make for a great thing to think up something like the suitcase, or what was that? The trunk in Terry Pratchett's Discworld stuff, with a gazillion little feet, and it could eventually go anywhere. It was like a millipede with little booted feet underneath it. I don't pretend to know the inside of everybody's heads, so I can't explain it unless I talk to a whole bunch of people that were in chairs that wanted those figures. So I can only speculate. All right. I've recently started exploring OE original with Chainmail for combat. I'm really enjoying it. To me, it has changed the way I approach and play the game. It's like an entirely new game and a breath of fresh air. I see a lot of folks online bashing Chainmail and OE in general. You were there very close to the beginning of the game. Yes, I was. I'm curious about your thoughts on OE with Chainmail. Was this the real vision of the game, or was adding Chainmail an afterthought for Gary to boost GM sales? Okay, there's not a real easy, straightforward answer there. Gary and the guys, Dave, were playing Chainmail. That's where this all arose from. They played Chainmail. Somebody commented one day that this guy, this well-painted figure or strangely painted figure or whatever, he's not just a hero, he's a superhero. Okay, you got to kill him twice. And it happened over a course of a few games that the green guy that's always a superhero kept surviving. He was still on the board at the end of the game. and thoughts germinated and died and flourished and, whatever. And so Bronstein came out of that. Part of it came out of it. That was the interactive, the cooperative, the assignment of roles and duties, etc. So chainmail was always a part of D&D in that it arose out of. Now, like any hybrid plant that you cross with several other plants, it's still there. The DNA is still there. In the original game, everything was a D6. Very chainmailish, and I didn't care for it. And as soon as I got a copy of Greyhawk, which had the alternate combat system, I dove right into that. Because it was too much like a board game when everything's on a D6. And that was my opinion. I wasn't alone in that opinion, but that was how I saw it. It was too much like a board game. Because board games of the day, everything was on D6s. Because it was D&D and role-playing that spawned the need and spawned the dice and the need for them, and found the dice and repurposed them. I'll leave it at that. So no, I didn't care for it as first edition. I played it by the early rules. We played it at Carmudgeon because I didn't have chainmail right away. So when we first started playing, yes, we were playing with everything being a D6. Chainmail. And no, I didn't care for it. I liked the alternative combat system with the various weapon types and armors and what have you. Chainmail was miniatures. D&D grew out of miniatures. No reason to stay and keep that part of miniatures. That's the way I saw it, the way I see it now. My opinion only. My opinion. Now, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that are near and dear to my heart. My Curse of the Weaver Queen, that was kickstarted by Old Guard Games, which is part of World Game Design, has sold out of all the Kickstarter copies and has been reprinted. So check it out. Those of you who have the first Kickstart part, write in and tell them, and you will get a much better box to replace the horrible one it came out in, which those of you who haven't know was horrendously flimsy and nowhere near to the standard of the industry. So that has been rectified. If you get a new copy, not having a Kickstarter, you will have the better box. All right, it will be there. If you have the old, terribly thin, flimsy box, they will replace it for you. And this is what I've been thinking on, off, and on all afternoon. Actually, all afternoon and part of yesterday. I've told you, some of you know about what I've called the Blue Sky Sessions that Gary and I used to have. And that was when they were so rare. That's what made them special. We'd be able to actually steal away for a half hour or 45 minutes and just have a cheap cigar with a wooden tip and awful scotch and talk about what might happen one day. And all the things we did and we laughed and giggled about, none of them encompassed what, for instance, last month's Smithsonian commented on Perspective about what the effect of the game and role-playing in general this new aspect of entertainment and recreation has done to our society. And of course, when I see these various things, I'm enormously gratified. Enormously gratified to know that something that I helped bring into the world and form and create has had such a profound effect. But what really, really, really sank it home the other day was when my wife, Cheryl, came home from out running some errands and gave me this. A sheet of D&D postage stamps from the United States Postal Service, forever stamps, which means D&D forever, but also means they're good forever. And I looked at those, and even though I saw the announcement several months ago, I looked at those and my mind kind of went, boing. And I sat down for about 10 or 15 minutes. I felt really good about myself and what we had done. And had in any of the Blue Sky sessions, had we gotten drunk as skunks and started spinning, we never would have predicted that the game and all it represents, all the cultural impact it's had as a cultural icon, that we would end up on a postage stamp. Boing! Mind blown. I really feel like that was the that was just the ultimate validation of what we set out to do all those years ago in 1975, when we decided that we were going to change the hobby, not realizing that we were going to change society as a result. Who knew? Anybody that says they knew that back in 1975 or 1976 is an opium eater or a bald-faced liar. Who knew? What an amazing... I look at those stamps and I go, yeah. You know, we didn't even call it role-playing when I went to work there. That term came along during the Dallas Egbert thing, when all the news media go, well, what is this game? What's it about? How do you play it? And it might have been me, it might have been my car, because I seem to recall we were foisted, a lot of those contacts were foisted off on Mike and I. And I don't know. I might have invented the term. Mike might have invented the term. I do know this, that when I started using the term, I compared it to, briefly, what mental health professionals were already doing. They were doing role-playing in a mental health capacity. And so it was, well, yeah, sort of like that, yes, if we were asked, or sometimes we would put that forth. But it wasn't even called that then. And look at it today. Astonishing. Just astonishing. I guess that's all I got this week. Dodadagovi. Hello, and welcome to my cellar.
The curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Last man around when them rates went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's brain. ESR and fantasy, collection of micro armory, Titan with tramp under a tree,
High as could be. He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.